Most people know Keanu Reeves for his calm, mysterious aura, the man who barely shows emotion in interviews, who rides the subway like an ordinary person, who gives millions to charity without saying a word. But few know the story of the only woman who ever made him believe in real love. Her name was Elena Marquez, and once upon a time, long before The Matrix and John Wick, she was the one person who knew the real Keanu, the boy before the man, the dreamer before the icon. It was 1985. Toronto was cold that spring, the kind of wet, gray chill that soaks into your bones. Keanu was barely 20, not famous, not rich, just a struggling actor working odd jobs, unloading boxes at a warehouse by day and acting in community theater by night. One evening, as the rain poured outside a second-hand bookstore, he ducked inside to kill time. That's when he saw her, sitting cross-legged on the floor, sketching a stranger on the opposite shelf. She wore an oversized coat with paint stains on the sleeves, round glasses that kept slipping down her nose, and headphones that played music he couldn't hear, but somehow felt. He didn't speak to her that day, but a week later, he saw her again, this time in the park, drawing a homeless man on a napkin. Keanu gathered the courage to speak. "You always draw people?" he asked. She looked up, smiled. "Only the ones no one sees." That was Elena. An art student, brilliant and shy, working 3 jobs to keep her family afloat. Her father was a construction worker, her mother a housekeeper, but her soul? That belonged to beauty, to sadness, to meaning. They started seeing each other more, not in fancy restaurants, but in quiet corners of the city. She'd bring her sketchpad, he'd bring scripts. They'd spend hours under bridges, near street musicians, dreaming together. She told him once, "Fame won't save your soul, but love might," and he believed her. That summer was magic. He got his first role in a small indie film. She sold a painting to a local cafe. They celebrated with pancakes and cheap wine. For a while, it felt like nothing could break them, but the world is cruel to those who dream too softly. One day, Elena stopped answering his calls. She stopped coming to the cafe. Weeks passed. He went to her apartment, gone. Her neighbors said her father had died suddenly, an accident at the job site. Her mother collapsed emotionally, and Elena had dropped out of art school. No one knew where she'd gone. Keanu tried to find her for months, but life pulled him away. Acting gigs, travel, Hollywood, and slowly heartbreak became memory, but he never forgot her. There are people you don't stop loving. You just learn to live without them, he once told a friend, and for the next 35 years, that's what he did. December 18th, 2023, Los Angeles. It was cold, unusually cold for California. Keanu Reeves had just wrapped filming for John Wick 5. The action, the blood, the violence, all pretend. But the exhaustion on his face was very real. He didn't take the limo. He never did. He preferred walking. Quiet streets, real people. The kind of silence you can't buy in Hollywood. That evening, instead of heading home, he wandered off toward the edge of Skid Row, the part of the city most actors avoid. Not Keanu. He knew pain when he saw it. He lived through enough of it himself. Losing his best friend, River Phoenix, losing his child, then the woman he loved. He felt more at home in sorrow than in fame. He bought a sandwich from a food truck and leaned against a lamppost watching people pass by, and then he saw her, a woman, hunched under a torn blanket sitting on a crate. Her fingers moved slowly across a dirty sketchpad. Her hair was streaked with gray, falling over her face. Her clothes were layered, ragged. Her boots had holes in the solace, but the way she was drawing, focused. Still, lost in the moment, it reminded him of something, or someone. He moved closer. She looked up. For a brief second, her hazel eyes locked with his, and time collapsed. Keanu's heart dropped. "Elena?" She blinked, as if trying to place a voice from a dream. "Keanu?" His name left her lips like a gasp. He stepped closer, mouth slightly open, not believing what he was seeing. 35 years. And yet, she was right there, barely surviving. He crouched beside her. "Is it really you?" he asked, voice shaking. She laughed quietly. "You Haven't changed much." He smiled through glassy eyes. "You have charcoal on your cheek." She wiped it with her sleeve, embarrassed. Old habits. They sat there on the sidewalk, not caring who watched. Two ghosts from a forgotten time. Somehow alive again, she offered him the sketch she was working on, a portrait of a stray dog sleeping under a bench. "Still drawing?" "The ones no one sees," he whispered. "And still noticing them," she replied. Keanu asked if she was okay. She lied. "I'm fine. Just down on luck." But he could see the tremble in her hands, the way her clothes clung to her thin frame. This wasn't just bad luck. This was suffering, he asked when she'd last eaten. She shrugged. He handed her his sandwich. She hesitated. He insisted. "I never forgot you," he said softly. "I did," she smiled faintly. "Tried to." They talked for almost 2 hours about art, about cities, about how dreams get lost in the chaos of survival. She told him that after her father died, everything spiraled. Her mother couldn't cope. She took whatever job she could. Then she lost her apartment, a bad relationship, a hospital bill, and then the street. "You think it can't happen to you until it does," she said. "I'm so sorry, Elena." "Don't be. I survived." He asked where she stayed. She pointed toward a bridge, a spot she shared with a few others. "Safe," she said, relatively. Keanu nodded, but his heart burned. He'd spent decades surrounded by luxury, trailers, hotels, designer suits. And here she was, living like a shadow. That night he walked her to her corner. She wrapped the blanket around herself and sat back down on her crate. "You going to disappear again?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not this time." Then he pulled off his hoodie and handed it to her. "You always hated the cold," he said. She smiled. "You remembered." He nodded, turned, and walked away. But not without looking back. She was watching him. The next morning, Keanu didn't go to set. He went back to Skid Row, but Elena wasn't there. He waited. Hours passed. No sign. For a moment, his chest tightened. What if he'd imagined it? What if the years had played a trick on him? But then, just before dusk, she appeared, a bag of recyclables slung over her shoulder, sketchpad tucked under one arm. "Looking for me?" She grinned. "Always," he said. He handed her a coffee and offered to walk with her. That walk turned into a plan. He asked if she'd let him help. She hesitated. "I don't want charity." "It's not charity, it's unfinished business." She laughed at that. "I thought I was just a chapter you left behind. You were the whole book." She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no, which to Keanu was enough. For the next few days, Keanu came back. No cameras, no entourage, no Hollywood polish. Just a man in worn jeans and a hoodie, sitting beside a woman the world had forgotten. Elena was hesitant at first. Years of abandonment made her suspicious of kindness, but Keanu wasn't pretending. He brought her coffee every morning, warm meals in the evening, and most importantly, his time. They'd sit in silence. She'd sketch. He'd listen. One night, as the cold wind cut through their little corner under the bridge, Keanu asked if she still had her old drawings. "Most of them are gone," she said. "Water damage, rats, life. But some survived?" She nodded slowly. "A few. Stored in a locker. Why?" "Because the world needs to see them," Elena scoffed. "You're sweet. But no one cares about street art, especially not mine." He didn't argue. The next day they went together, walking 3 long blocks, to a storage unit facility tucked behind a rundown strip mall. She opened a rusted locker. Inside were 4 sketchbooks, each one frayed, stained, fragile, but alive. Keanu sat on the cold concrete floor and began turning pages. He didn't speak for almost half an hour. Every page held heartbreak. Faces of forgotten people, old men sleeping on bus benches, children looking out of shattered windows, women clinging to dignity in alleys and shelters. Raw emotion poured in graphite and charcoal. One page showed a dog cradling her pups inside a cardboard box. Another, a self-portrait of Elena holding a mirror with no reflection. Keanu finally looked up. "This is powerful. It's pain," she said. "It's truth." She looked away. "Why are you really doing this, Keanu?" "Guilt?" Nostalgia, he paused, because you saw me before the world did. And now I see you, when the world refuses to. The following day he made a phone call. His longtime friend, Alyssa Reynolds, owned a modern gallery in Venice Beach, known for showcasing raw, outsider talent. Keanu asked her for a favor. No red carpet, no Keanu Reeves branding. I just want people to see this woman's soul. At first, Alyssa hesitated. Then she saw the sketches, and everything changed. They curated the art carefully. Not too polished, not too flashy. Just real, human. Elena insisted the walls be matte gray, like the city, she said, and that every piece be displayed without frames, because the people I drew never had borders. Keanu covered all the expenses anonymously. He even refused to let the gallery include his name in the press release. Let her art speak, not my reputation. The gallery launch was quiet, just a soft opening for a few critics, art lovers, and journalists. At first, no one understood what they were looking at, but then they felt it. One woman stood for 15 minutes in front of a sketch of a homeless mother combing her daughter's hair behind a dumpster. Another man began to cry silently, staring at a drawing of a war veteran sleeping with medals in his lap. Each sketch was pain, but also grace, stillness, dignity. The exhibit was called Drawn from the Shadows by Marcus Elena War. A simple black dress Keanu bought her. Her hair pulled back, her hands still stained with charcoal. She stood near the back, watching people observe her life on paper. Keanu stayed even further behind, baseball cap low, blending into the wall. When asked by a journalist if he was Keanu Reeves, he smiled and replied, "Tonight's not about me." The reviews came the next day. One of the most soul-shattering visual exhibits of the year. Pure, unfiltered humanity. Marcus delivers what studios cannot. Truth. Within 48 hours, the story leaked. The woman behind the art had lived homeless for a decade. And the quiet man who helped bring her out of the shadows was Keanu Reeves. The internet exploded. Headlines poured in. Keanu's forgotten love becomes art world's new star, the woman who disappeared and returned. With a pencil, Keanu Reeves doesn't just play heroes, he is one. But Keanu stayed silent. 1 week later, Elena received a call. Her exhibit had been booked for Paris, then New York, then Tokyo. She wasn't just a story anymore. She was a movement, but fame didn't change her. She still lived quietly, still drew at night, still spoke gently. Keanu visited her often, always with coffee and 2 blueberry muffins. "One for you," he'd say, handing them over. "And, one for the girl you used to be?" One evening, they sat on the balcony of her new apartment, modest, filled with plants, paintbrushes, and light. Elena turned to him. "What do I do now?" Keanu smiled. "Live, Elena. This time, really live." Months passed. The world changed around Elena. From cardboard and alleyways to gallery walls and magazine covers. Her art touched hearts across continents. But Elena stayed grounded. She didn't care for fame. She never wanted it. Her apartment remained simple: wooden floors, scattered canvases, a mattress on the ground, and sunlight pouring in through cracked windows. And every Sunday, without fail, he came. Keanu Reeves, the world-famous icon, would knock once, holding 2 cups of coffee in a brown paper bag. "1 cappuccino, 1 blueberry muffin," he'd say. "The ritual must be preserved." They'd sit on her tiny balcony, watching the city breathe. They didn't always talk. Sometimes silence was enough. She told him once, "You were the only person who never asked me to be anything other than myself." And he replied, "That's because you were more than enough." But even peaceful stories have their shadows. One morning, Keanu knocked. No answer. He waited, called, still nothing. He contacted the building manager, who opened the door. Elena was lying on the floor beside her easel, unconscious, a stroke. She was rushed to the hospital. For 3 days, she was in a coma. Keanu didn't leave. He sat outside her room in the same clothes, refusing all press calls, ignoring his agents. Nothing else mattered. Doctors said it was serious. Age, years of untreated health problems. It had taken its toll. On the 4th morning, her fingers Moved. She woke slowly, whispering his name. Keanu? He leaned in. I'm here. Tears slid down her face. I thought I'd lost you again. Not this time, he smiled. I'm not letting go. Her recovery was slow, painful, but steady. And Keanu was there, every day. Reading to her, playing old jazz records, bringing her pencils even when she couldn't lift them. One afternoon, weeks into her recovery, she asked him for something odd. There's a sketchbook under my mattress. Don't look at it. Just take it. It's for you, he nodded. Later, that night, he opened it. Inside were dozens of portraits of him, not movie star Keanu. But young Keanu. Sad Keanu, laughing Keanu. Lost Keanu. One page said, You grew up, but you never left. Another had no image, just a line. I never stopped drawing you. You were my anchor. He closed the book with shaking hands. That night, he couldn't sleep. 2 months later, Elena was strong enough to walk again. She held Keanu's arm. As they strolled slowly down a quiet beach, her request. Promise me something, she said, looking out at the waves. Anything. When I'm gone, don't let people turn me into a trend. They won't. And don't forget. Me. I couldn't if I tried. That winter, Elena passed away peacefully in her sleep. There was no media alert. No fanfare, only one obituary appeared, written anonymously. She drew the ones the world ignored and taught us how to see again. Keanu organized her memorial. Quietly, a private gathering in the same gallery where her story began. He wore all black. No speech, no spotlight. Just one final tribute, a wall filled with sketches. A single candle burning below them, and a small card that read, Thank you for seeing me when I didn't see myself. But the story didn't end there. 3 months later, a foundation was launched, the Elena Marquez Trust, for artists in the shadows, funded entirely by Keanu Reeves. It provides housing, materials, and gallery space for homeless and struggling artists across America. No press, no interviews. Just quiet help, the way Elena would have wanted. The Trust's logo. A charcoal-lined drawing of a woman sitting cross-legged, sketchpad in hand, hair falling over one eye. Drawn by Keanu himself. In a rare interview months later, Keanu was asked why he'd never married, never chased a glamorous love story like his peers. He paused, looked down, smiled faintly. Because the love of my life wasn't in a castle. She was under a bridge, and even then, she was art. Years from now, when people will tell Keanu's story, they'll speak of the Matrix, John Wick, and his generosity, but few will know that his greatest role wasn't on camera. It was holding the hand of the woman who once held his soul and never letting go again.